Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of 100% Polyester TV. Oop, there goes me light. So, I've received in the mail today a name set, a number set for one of my favourite player of all time, MUZZY IZZET. So, I've got one of my old shirts that I wanted to put this on, and I put a post up on Instagram not long ago, or today, and Tom, one of my followers, said, why don't you do a live video of it? And I thought, well, that's not a bad idea, so I think I will. So what you'll see here, I've got the 6, and I've got the lettering IZZET for MUZZY IZZET, who played at Leicester for how long? About 7 years maybe, in the 90s and the early 2000s. And I've got the Leicester City 1996 to 1998 home shirt, which I'm going to put it on. The actual lettering is the old Premier League lettering from the time, so it matches up with the age of the shirt. So I'm not putting on a recent any old lettering and number on an old shirt. This is the actual lettering that was on the shirts at the time. And to my knowledge, this is original stuff from the 90s, so it's a very good get. And it's the old felt stuff as well. So any of your new shirts now, if you get a name on them, it's just a very thin plastic lettering and number that go on them. But back in the day, that was a bit thicker, and it had like a felt and a soft touch to it. So this is the stuff from the time, which will look good on this shirt. So that's the shirt, we're going to put it on. And to be honest, I'm a bit nervous. It might sound easy just transferring this with an iron onto a shirt, but these shirts, it's a mid-90s shirt, so they're pretty valuable these days, so there's no margin for error at all. So hope it all goes well, but everyone will be here watching with me, so I'm going to wish myself luck, and we're just going to get cracking onto it. So I'm going to flip the shirt over. Now, I've had a quick look on the internet before, and I have sort of had a look at backs of shirts of the time from Leicester and tried to match up and see exactly where the writing and the number goes. So the actual letters, it should go across about there. So we'll we'll place the number, the lettering first. Now we've got to, like I said, there's no margin for error here, so we've got to make sure everything is right before we get that iron on it. So I reckon about there, and we've got to have it. I'm gonna get a ruler out for this. I'm gonna be to the millimeter. So why is MUZZY IZZET my favourite player? Some of you might ask. Some of you might not. Well, when MUZZY IZZET arrived at the club, Leicester was still in Division 1, trying to get into the Premier League. And they got an unknown bloke from Chelsea on loan called MUZZY IZZET, a midfielder who'd been playing in the Chelsea reserves. Martin O'Neill had been going down to Chelsea reserves to watch him. I think at the time they were playing at Wycombe Wanderers ground, and Martin O'Neill used to manage Wycombe, so is probably why he was still going down there and scouting players. And a young guy called MUZZY IZZET caught his eye, and he got him on loan for the back end of the season, and he actually went on and scored a very important goal in that season. On the last game of the season, Leicester were really struggling to make the playoffs, and MUZZY IZZET stepped up and scored a header against Watford in the last game of the season to win the game, and Leicester went through. It might have been only on goal difference in the end, and they got that last spot in the playoffs. And they went on and beat Stoke in the semi-final of the playoffs and played off against Crystal Palace at Wembley for a place in the Premier League. And Muzzy actually won a penalty in that game to equalise. Crystal Palace went 1-0 up, and Leicester obviously 1-0 down, and MUZZY IZZET latched onto a ball from Steve Walsh down the left-hand side and got tripped in the box, and Gary Parker went away and scored the goal to equalise before Steve Claridge scored the winner deep into the game. So yeah, they were in the Premier League in the 96-97 season, and Leicester paid about, I think it was about £900,000 for MUZZY from Chelsea to keep him there on a full-time deal. And he, in the middle of the midfield, it was him and Neil Lennon, who played together for probably 4 years in the Premier League together, with some success, winning 2 League Cups together, losing a League Cup as well, playing in Europe in the UEFA Cup. And MUZZY was pretty much the creative force in the whole Leicester team for the majority of the time that he was there. We did get relegated in the 2001 season, and MUZZY stayed and was easily the best player in the championship, which was still called Division 1 at the time. Now I'm struggling to get this sort of, but yeah, MUZZY IZZET stayed with the club in the championship, got us promoted on the first time of asking, and then had 1 more year at Leicester, which would have been the 2002-2003 season. But we got relegated, and MUZZY's contract was up, and he went off to Birmingham and was plagued by injuries, and only didn't play very much for Birmingham, and then was forced to retire early. So here he's still just trying to match it up. It's might be a bit pedantic, but 165. I reckon that's good now. Hopefully that's straight. Does that look straight to everyone there? To me, that looks fine. So yeah, I've got this name set from a place off eBay that's in Devon, and they still got some of these old name sets from the 90s. First year that Leicester were actually in the Premier League, let me just double check that's everything straight there. The first season that Leicester were in the Premier League, the 96-97 season, they didn't have this actual official Premier League writing and font and numbers. So Leicester had their own in-house. They had their own in-house letters and numbers, and so the number 6 would have had a little Fox Leisure on there instead of the Premier League line that you see on there. And it wasn't until the next year, the 97-98 season, that all the clubs had this same lettering and numbering on the backs of their shirts. So this shirt will go down now as being a shirt for the 97-98 season. So I'm just ironing it on with a bit of baking powder, paper. So hopefully this just activates the glue. Again, I've done this, everyone's done this back in the day when you had to iron on your own numbers and that for futsal or indoor soccer or what. It's you don't think twice, but when you've got a shirt now that is 25 years old, you're a bit hesitant to go gung-ho on it. So just iron that, give it a bit of heat, get the glue going. Hopefully that's sticking on there. Now let's just see if we can peel any of this away. Knowing my luck, it peel away and nothing will come off. So yeah, there's a bit of still not quite warm enough, so what I might do is just leave it on there for a bit. I have watched a few videos of this on YouTube, so I think I know what I'm doing. So yeah, some people aren't too keen on grabbing an old shirt and putting a name and number on it, but you know, this is a shirt that's not, I'm never going to sell. It's for my personal collection. Muzzy is my favourite player. It's the original lettering and the number from the time, so it's not a reproduction. So yeah, in my mind it's fine. A shirt like this with lettering and numbering that was actually done in the club shop would really increase the value of the shirt. But yeah, this one's never going to be sold. It's a shirt that will stay in my collection. I don't have many shirts with the lettering and numbering on it. It's always when you're buying a shirt, it costs enough for the shirt itself that you don't really want to be spending another 20 bucks on a name and number, and especially when you're an adult, you look a bit silly with a name on the back. So even when I was a kid, I never had any names or numbers on the backs of shirts. Now, it cost me about 25 bucks, I think, 25 Australian dollars to get this set sent over from England, so it's not too bad. Just giving that a bit more. Let's see if that peels away any better. Oh yeah, so that's starting to come off now. Look at that. So it might not be perfect, and now the people at home will be saying, "Oh, that one's not straight," but I think when it's hanging up, it's going to be near enough. So these are coming off nice now. There was a nice little trivia question up until recently, up until the last World Cup when England made the semi-finals. There's a bit of a pub trivia question, was name the last Englishman to play in a World Cup semi-final, and it was a bit of a trick question because Muzzy Izzet was English, but with a name like Muzzy Izzet, he had Turkish background, so he represented Turkey, and although being English and in my opinion unlucky not to play for England, he was good enough, I reckon. He made the semi-finals of the World Cup in Japan, South Korea 2002, and played in a semi-final game against Brazil, and they lost, but in doing so, he was the last Englishman to play in a World Cup semi-final until, obviously, England made it in the last World Cup and when they lost to Croatia. So we've got the Izzet on there, and that looks pretty good to me. Now I'm gonna just move the cardboard that I've got here, because now we're going to put on the 6, number 6. I'm actually really happy with this. So I would... There we go. So I reckon that will just about do it. So now again, I've got to get this right, because we don't want to get those letters right and then balls it up on the number. So I'm just going to peel off this sticker that advertises the company that I bought, Easy Print Cornwall. So they got their own website, .co.uk, but they're on eBay, which is where I found them. So I've got to centralise that under the cardboard, so I hope everyone at home can still see that. I'll just move that up a bit. So yeah, supporting Leicester in the 90s, there wasn't that many exotic names like a MUZZY IZZET. There was Pontus Kmark, the Swede, Casey Keller. Who else did we have? But mostly they were just English names, your bog standard English names, and a lot of teams were like that in the Premier League, even Chelsea when in the mid 90s and that, until they started getting all the Italians coming in. They just had a lot of Premier League teams just had English names, and I think that's what attracted me to MUZZY IZZET first. Have I got that on straight? Just the is really just the strange name, the exotic name, something a bit different, but he could play, and he was a fan's favourite for a lot of people at Leicester. Of course, now in the Premier League and Championship and a lot of the teams in the world, it's actually rare, especially in the Premier League, to have an English player's name in a team. So you're a bit spoilt for exotic names these days, but yeah, back in the 90s it was still quite a rare thing, as the Premier League was getting popular and attracting a global audience, taking away probably the Italian league as the most popular league in the world. So I reckon I might have just about pulled this off, which I'm very, very happy for. Alright, so let's just let that rest for a second and see how we go. Is it coming off? No, so that a bit bigger and a bit thicker, this one, so it might need a bit more heat, a bit more work into it. Yeah, so if anyone's got some old shirts, I would recommend doing this. It's going to cost you. I'm lucky with my favourite player, only his last name only having 5 letters. But if you, I don't know, if you're looking at a Burkamp or who else, don't know, you're going to be. It might cost you a bit more, but my favourite players always had the short names. I've got a couple of shirts in my collection now with Vardy on the back, so he's the same. It's not going to cost me an awful lot. There is a young Thai international at Leicester at the moment whose name, it starts here and it goes all the way around there, and would be a nightmare for parents if their kid wanted that on the back. It would cost an absolute fortune. Alright, so that's getting quite hot, the shirt, so we'll just let that rest for a sec and attempt to peel it off. So the IZZET is still on there. So here we go, take 2. It's coming off quite alright. Still a bit sticky. Just pull it off. You don't want to rush it because you don't want to tear it or ruin the finisher of it. So it's coming off right now. So I think it's done alright. We're nearly there. Look at that. Is it 6? Just give it a quick heat over without the transfer on. Bit of water on there. But that is a wrap, and that is looking very, very nice, and that's going to look very good in the collection. So, if you think I've done a good job there, give us a comment. And whose name would you like to get on your shirt?